Welcome. It is Verdict with Ted Cruz, Weekend Review. Ben Ferguson with you, and here are some of the big stories that you may have missed that we talked about. First up, the Democratic candidate to replace Graham Platner is a guy by the name of Troy Jackson. He may actually be even worse than Platner, and we break it down. Also, Mamdani in New York City, he's excited about his government-run grocery stores. Well, the big question is, how are they going to work and who's going to run them? We explain that as well. And finally, in a shocking bombshell story, we now have learned that months before Donald Trump was even elected to his second term in office, Democrat attorney generals were joining together to conspire to sue Donald Trump on every single issue. It's the Weekend Review, and it starts right now. Let's talk about the elections here in the midterm. One of the biggest one everybody was watching, we were heavily involved in this, was Graham Platner. Graham Platner was a radical extremist. He's a guy that had the SS tattoo on him. He was a guy that had countless warning signs. Democrats defended him at all costs until they thought he couldn't win anymore. Then they excommunicated him. But the replacement is not much better than Graham Platner, which is the funny part of the entire story. It's like they just changed the name, but there's still the same set of major issues.
Well, it turned out we learned a lot about today's Democrats based on the Maine Senate race. We learned, first of all, that being a Nazi is just fine. That doesn't disqualify you from the Democrat Party in embracing you. In fact, not just being a Nazi, but tattooing a Totenkopf, the image of the SS in the concentration camps, on your chest for almost every single major Democrat except John Fetterman, and Fetterman showed courage, but everyone else, A-OK. Being a communist, Platner explicitly called himself a communist, A-OK with every national Democrat. Being a misogynist, repeatedly abusing women, not a problem. Hey, that's the Democrat Party, they're good with that. Insulting and denigrating veterans, great by them. Hating Israel, great by them. Being an anti-Semite, no problem there. Look, you pile one or the other. Discussing your bizarre sexual fantasies in porta potties, which was just weird. I mean, let's just say that is strange.
Putting it mildly, by the way. Yeah, that's like you G-rating it for real.
But you put all those together, and what does Elizabeth Warren say about Platner? He's my kind of guy. What is Ro Khanna, someone who used to pretend to be a Democrat moderate? He comes and campaigns with him, says, all right, Nazi communists, this is who we are.
Bernie Sanders,
all of them. And then what happened? The polling numbers took a turn down, and they suddenly said, Graham who? And they defenestrated him. All right, Ben, do you know what the word defenestrate means?
Please educate me on this one.
It's actually a great word. Defenestrate means to throw someone.
Like my word of the week. I'm going to use it on the next TV hit, and people are just going to be like, what did he just say?
To defenestrate someone is to throw them out the window, not the door. Okay. It is specifically defenestration is throwing someone out the window, and they defenestrated Graham Platner. And then they realized, oh, wait, we got to run somebody because we want power more than anything. And so they went and grabbed a different communist, a different DSA radical, a different white guy who kind of looks like Graham Platner. It's almost like they had a casting call. Okay, guys who can pretend to be blue-collar white guys. All right, you'll do. And listen, this guy is perfectly normal, nothing to see here. Yes, he's been a DSA communist. Yes, he's been a hardcore leftist. Yes, he has this really odd pattern of screaming and yelling and berating women. Wait, that's actually the same thing Platner did. This seems to be a Democrat pattern. Oh, and there's one more deal. He married his cousin, and they have two kids together with his second cousin.
Yeah, why don't you roll that back about 15 seconds for people that are like, wait, did you just say that? Let's make sure we make that clear.
Look, I think the Democrat, their plan, their motto now is we can handle rape, we can handle incest. We just can't handle both.
Yeah, one or the other. One or the other, right? Unless we think you can win, then all sins are forgiven.
And by the way, I want you to listen to Elizabeth Warren. Remember Elizabeth Warren, who said that Graham Platner, the Nazi communist, was her kind of guy. Here's what Elizabeth Warren now says on the incestuous Troy Jackson.
Oh, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling good about Troy Jackson. You'll get to talk to him in just a minute. You'll see why I'm feeling good. He's the right guy for Maine. But I'm also feeling good. I'm feeling good about Michigan. I was just there, as you know, I was just there day before yesterday, on the ground, campaigning with Abdul al-Sayed. And the energy, the people who just can finish the sentences, get money out of politics, get more money into people's pockets, and get health care for everyone.
It is easy to get her excited about pretty much anybody in politics, is what we're learning now, as long as you're a crazy Democrat.
And by the way, Abdul al-Sayed, this is the radical Islamist in Michigan who hates Jews, hates Israel, and hates America. He is a communist. He is an open communist. He is an Islamist. He looks at Mamdani and says, that guy's too moderate for me. And you know what she says? Al-Sayed, he's my kind of guy. Troy Jackson. I love the fact that Elizabeth Warren connects Troy Jackson to Al-Sayed. If you are an America-hating communist to Elizabeth Warren, you're my kind of guy. If you are an Islamist who hates Jews, who hates Christians, and hates the United States of America, to Elizabeth Warren, you're her kind of guy. This is today's Democrat Party.
This is a pattern here. You keep seeing the pattern forming. This is we've been warning about this for a long time. This is now literally the Democratic Party and their belief system.
Now, look, you might be saying, gosh, calling these people communists, calling them America-hating Marxists, that's going too far. And listen, we've got people listening to this podcast. We obviously have conservatives, we have Republicans, we have libertarians who listen to this podcast, but we also have Democrats, we have independents, we have people who are not terribly into politics who listen to it. So if you might be inclined to be skeptical of what I'm saying, how about Bill Maher? Bill Maher is a lifelong liberal. He's a Democrat. He's given millions of dollars to Democrats in the past. He's an outspoken liberal, but an old school liberal, back when liberals believed in things like free speech, back when liberals didn't embrace terrorists who want to murder us all. They just were more left wing than you and I. Give a listen to Bill Maher making very much the same points I was just making.
And finally, new rule, Donald Trump has told 1 trillion lies, but when he says the Democratic Socialists of America are actually communist, that's not one of them. And it's not hard to prove it, just by quoting the DSA and their candidates. J.D. Vance was on the show, and I told him that if the Democratic Party keeps going in the direction of the DSA, my vote was in play. And all I heard all vacation was, oh my God, you're a Republican now. No, that's not what I said. I said in play. And here's why. Because not a week goes by where I don't read about some newly chosen, exciting new face in the Democratic Party. And then when that face opens its mouth, the Communist Manifesto or some other crazy shit comes out. Again, let's just read the quotes. The DSA platform says you work as much as you are able and no more than needed. If that was any closer to Karl Marx's dictum, from each according to his abilities to each according to his needs, they'd be sued for plagiarism. New York Mayor Mamdani once tweeted Karl Marx's words exactly. They're not trying to hide it. Their most popular influencer, Hassan Piker, thinks communism is so groovy. He laments the fall of the two of the most murderous regimes in history, the Soviet Union and Chairman Mao's China. Mamdani's aide, his top aide, Sia Weaver, said, if you don't believe in the government's sacred right to seize property, it's over, and impoverish the white middle class. What? That's a goal? You know you're supposed to scare people into voting for you, right? One of the new soon-to-be Democratic Congresspeople, Darlisia Chevalier, supports seizing all properties from landlords and said, seize the means of production. Mamdani has said the end goal is seizing the means of production. I think they want to seize the means of production. Now, maybe you missed that in school or missed school altogether, but that's communism. Now the coalition within the DSA, called the Marxist Unity Group, is in ascendance, and I must take them at their word when their words include Our commitment is to the long-term struggle for a fully liberated, classless society, in a word, communism. What do they have to do? Tweet out, elect more communists? Oh, yeah, Sia Weaver did that. Yes. Good, I'm glad you're shocked. People got to realize this is going on.
Senator, I got to give full credit there to Bill Maher for the way that he described how he described his vote being in play. And to say Donald Trump said this and he's not lying to you, this is a very bold moment for Democrats like Bill Maher, where I think they're trying to say, you guys have gone crazy and maybe, unfortunately, I may have helped get us there, and I'm trying to bring us back.
And by the way, when Maher said towards the end of that riff, he said, how could they make it more explicit? Maybe tweet out, elect more communists. And then he puts up Sia Weaver, who's Mamdani's right hand, and she tweeted that out word for word, elect more communists. And you may or may not have been able to hear, but a woman in the crowd literally gasps. Like look, and the crowd that goes to Maher is generally left of center. And they're just, but look, they're just shocked. The number of people who don't know what's going on. Listen, I tweeted out this weekend an excerpt from Friday's pod where we were going through all of Fauci's various lies and his repeated lies, including claiming that the COVID virus came from the wet market when he wrote in his diary at the time that he knew that it did not. And he was lying. And I was reading through the comments of some of the lefties, and they're just like, well, we believe the science, not crazy right-wing things. And they just, like, facts no longer matter. Multiple U.S. government agents have now concluded that COVID came from a Chinese government lab, including the FBI and HHS and several government agencies. But to the ignorant left, facts don't matter. All that matters is ideology.
Now, if you want to hear the rest of this conversation, you can go back and listen to the full podcast from earlier this week. Now on to story number 2.
Let's move into Mamdani and what is happening right now in New York. If they gain power and they get in positions of power, you now have a playbook of what they're going to do with that power. Look at what Mamdani has done, and now we have another example of this, even with his communist grocery stores. What's even so funny about these grocery stores is he was asked a question about these grocery stores, Senator, and I'm sure you saw this. It's gone viral, where they're like, hey, how are you going to police people coming in from maybe outside of New York City to go to these grocery stores to buy these groceries at a reduced rate? And
IDs.
IDs. Yeah, we'll just make sure they hold up their ID and they show us that they actually live in New York City. So you can vote in the election without showing an ID, but you can't get your communist groceries without an ID. Got it.
That is Democrat logic. If you want to vote, you don't need an ID. In fact, we're going to stop anyone from asking for an ID. If you want to buy government lettuce, show me a damn ID, you thief.
Yeah. How is that not, by the way, racist? Because they said showing an ID was a form of racism, and yet to show an ID to buy milk or eggs, that's not racist. I'm confused on their definition of racism now.
And by the way, I want to read a thread from a guy named Nick Kokonos, who is in the grocery business. And it was actually a very interesting thread that I read on Twitter. He said, I downloaded and reviewed NYC's grocery store RFP as someone who's built businesses and bought a lot of food. Wow. Forget for a moment whether the government should own a grocery store. Let's review the doc instead. Here we go.
And by the way, for people that don't know, RFP is a request for proposal. New York has put out to the public these requests for proposals for people that would want to run these communist grocery stores for them.
So NYC strongly prefers bidders who commit to all 5 stores. There are going to be 5 government-run grocery stores. But 3 of the 5 sites haven't been identified. Bidders are supposed to price unknown stores in unknown neighborhoods by assuming they're, quote, about 15,000 square feet. So you don't know where it is, you don't know what's going on, but you want to price it. Bidders get preference for operating all 5 stores, presumably because scale lowers cost. But New York City awards each store separately, so an all 5 bidder may win only one. They want scale pricing while refusing to award scale. The scores must use a limited SKU model. They must also carry full grocery departments, household goods, culturally specific products, plus kosher, halal, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and diabetic options. Pick one.
Makes sense.
The RFP says stores won't have deli counters or on-site food prep. Then its core basket includes chicken salad, egg salad, potato salad, fruit salad, and other deli-prepared foods. So a deli without a deli.
Yeah.
Oh, and you're going to ship them in every day prepared. Gotcha. NYC chooses and pays for the design, equipment, refrigeration, and fit-out. The operator pays utilities, maintenance, cleaning, and security. So NYC makes the capital decisions while somebody else pays for the consequences. That's how they control the goalposts. The best quote-unquote bid promises 30% discounts, best-in-class wages and benefits, local sourcing, sustainability, community programs, and full-time jobs. Then 20% of the score goes to whoever claims they need the least subsidy. Lowballing is the strategy, and then cost overruns are guaranteed. Core basket discounts must be universal, quote, sticker prices, not promotions. Then the operator must create a membership card to, quote, implement a discount program. Which is it? Universal shelf price or an ID card system? By the way, also says it's available to all people. And it doesn't even properly target their goals because the subsidy isn't targeted. No means test. Anyone can shop there, so taxpayers will subsidize groceries for affluent shoppers who happen to live nearby, while needy families elsewhere get zero. I always thought this was a terrible idea. They could much better help people with money, and hey, there are already programs that they could expand. But after reading, now I know it's a ridiculous idea. We have an efficient system, just change the outcomes. So naturally, one asks, why would they want to build crappy grocery stores, there's that 10-penny word again,
Yep.
that have conflicting goals and will be mismanaged? Because either that's their goal, or else they have no idea how actually to craft an RFP or run a business. Perhaps my favorite page that I did not include in my original thread is just chef's kiss amazing. How could you possibly estimate such a thing and such a level of detail requested? You might want additional spreadsheets, and then there's a spreadsheet that estimates the sales cost core basket items, the sale cost non-core basket items, the cost of goods sold, the cost of personnel, the cost of other operations, the cost programmatic. Like, it is, these are idiots who've never run a business, who don't know how to run a business, who are like, let's give away a bunch of free crap.
Yeah.
Let's order people to give away free crap. Let's not actually think about how they get the stuff to give away. And isn't this awesome? We're communists.
Yeah.
There is a reason. Do you remember the moment the Soviet Union fell?
And here's my other question. Over under on getting a legitimate company, not like political propaganda BS, but a legitimate company to actually try to run these grocery stores. Do you think that they're going to get these requests for proposals that aren't, already you're playing the game where it's a genuine grocer? It's like, yep, I can do this and I want to do this business model and I think I can make money. I don't think anybody would do it.
I don't know how you do business on that. These grocery stores are going to go broke. They're going to have shortages. They are requiring IDs, which is the most laughable.
Yeah.
The Democrat Party is fully vested in saying IDs are horrible, racist, evil things, and they're requiring IDs to shop at the grocery stores. And this is going to be, and by the way, if they succeeded, they would drive out of business the bodegas. If you're a like small Hispanic business owner, the Democrats want to bankrupt you. And look, I want you to listen. Listen, for example, to Van Jones, who is a very left-wing commentator. Listen to him talking about the Communist Party, the Democrat Party. Give a listen.
Okay, Van Jones, what are the stakes here for Democrats?
Look, this is the whole ball of wax. I'm from Jackson, Tennessee. There was a guy named Gil Scott Heron who had a great poem. It was called "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised." Gil Scott Heron is wrong. The revolution is being televised and podcast and streamed and elected tonight. Why is that? It's because there is a credibility gap that's opened up between the Democratic Party establishment and this insurgency. People are looking at people and they're saying, you've been telling us the same thing for a long time and our lives are not any better. We got Donald Trump twice. There's also an innovation gap. Why can you spend $60 million and get whooped like this? Because the old model was you get the donors to get the consultants to buy a bunch of ads and you win. That's how you get attention. This movement says, I don't need donors, ads, I don't need consultants. I'm going right to the people with TikTok and grassroots, and they've disintermediated the entire donor class, disintermediated the entire consultant class, and this is a revolution. And so this is going to happen again and again. The Democratic Party is now Blockbuster. These kids are Netflix. We are selling CDs out the trunk. This is Napster becoming Spotify, and it's happening tonight.
By the way, I'm trying to figure out exactly what Van Jones is saying there. Is he terrified? Or is he just saying, I guess I got to get on board with this, Senator? Like, which one is it? That was a weird way of putting it, because it's like, is he saying this is a mistake, or is he saying, well, this is the reality, so we better just get on board with it? What is it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think it's more the former. I think Van is, my read on that is that he's being courageous and saying this is a dangerous thing that is happening, but he's also saying, what I said at the beginning of this podcast, this is the energy, this is the heart, this is where the Democrat Party is. Yeah. And it's driving it forward. All right, here, I want you to listen to Francesca Hong. Francesca Hong is likely to be the Democrat nominee to be governor of Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a purple state. Donald Trump carried Wisconsin in 2024. Wisconsin is elected, it has a Republican senator. Ron Johnson has elected numerous Republican governors. Francesca Hong is a full-on communist, but I want you to listen to her on CNN explaining why she hates Thanksgiving and wants to cancel Thanksgiving. Here, give a listen.
One thing that they brought up as well was a post from you in 2021 where you said Americans should cancel Thanksgiving, should have done this in 1621. The post has been deleted. Republicans have been highlighting it. Do you still believe that Thanksgiving should be canceled?
I'm a chef. And one of the first meals that I made that was for the community when I was 16 was a Thanksgiving meal. You know, I always think my hospitality background in owning a restaurant for 7-8 years, that bringing folks around the table to share conversation and build community is always a good thing. But Thanksgiving is also a time that's incredibly painful for many people in our communities. And so I think I wanted to make sure that people understood that there are multiple views, but views can evolve. And the position that I'm running for right now, and I think my background as a chef, will actually help me become a better governor that's able to bring more people to the table.
That is one heck of a sales pitch right there, Senator.
So that was Caitlin Collins on CNN. She asked the question, and if you're not watching this on YouTube or on video, you need to watch Caitlin Collins' eyes, because she's listening to her. She asked the question, hey, you're running for governor of Wisconsin. Do you still want to cancel Thanksgiving? And it's clear Caitlin Collins wants her to say, no, I love Thanksgiving. Yeah. Like, America's great. No, we don't want to cancel Thanksgiving. Yeah. And Francesca Hong is like, no. There's many people who are horrified by Thanksgiving and they hate America, and those are my people. So I'm not going to say that. I'm a chef. You know, I once made a Thanksgiving meal. like it's the most. I got to say, that clip, if Saturday Night Live was willing to make fun of leftists.
Yeah, that would be the
that's
one.
Perfectly scripted. Yes. It's perfectly cast. Do you want to cancel and understand? So these communists, they hate capitalism, they hate property rights, they hate the Constitution, they hate free speech, they hate religious liberty, they hate the Second Amendment, they hate America. That gives me no joy to say that.
Yeah.
They think America is an evil, repressive, racist, oppressive place, and they want to destroy it.
Yep.
And so, look, that communist hates Thanksgiving. You know what she also hates, and I don't even need to ask. She hates the 4th of July. She hates Christmas. She hates Easter. Oh, God knows she hates Easter. I think they're two holidays she likes, Juneteenth and Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
And even no. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry, I made a major mistake. May Day, the time to celebrate communist takeovers and oppression, that she supports. But everything about America, by the way, if you are a Christian, she hates you.
Yeah.
If you're a Jew, she hates you. If you're in business, she hates you. If you love America, she hates you. And the same is true with El Sayed. The same is true with Mamdani. These communists, and this is something I've said in a number of TV interviews. Look, there are Republicans who are right now beating their chests and say, this is great. The Democrat Party is going cray-cray, so we're going to win in November because they're so extreme, we're going to win. I am not celebrating this. Look, history shows there's a pendulum to politics.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the Democrats will win again. I wish they wouldn't. I don't want them to. But there is going to be another Democrat president.
Yeah.
And I would like both national parties to be normal people who are not frigging insane.
Yes.
Like when there's the next Democrat president, and I would be thrilled if that doesn't happen in our lifetime, but it will. I would like the next Democrat president not to be a communist who hates America. And what is happening to the Democrat Party is there, other than John Fetterman, is there one Democrat willing to say, no, we will not let our party be taken over. And by the way, in the Republican Party, I'm standing up and saying to the anti-Semites that are trying to take over our party, no, we will not be a Jew-hating, Israel-hating, anti-capitalist, anti-American party. Get the hell out of our party. If that's who you are, you're not welcome. I'm doing that in our party. Other than John Fetterman, is there one Democrat doing that in their party?
As before, if you want to hear the rest of this conversation on this topic, you can go back and download the podcast from earlier this week to hear the entire thing. I want to get back to the big story, number 3 of the week you may have missed. All right, Senator, I want to get into one of the weirdest moments of the week. James Tallarico, a guy that's running for Senate in Texas as a Democrat, said that God's non-binary, that the Bible loves abortion, that there, I think it was 6 genders, and then he tried to act like he was a little bit more moderate. Well, not so much anymore, because he went to a Pride event alongside a 11-year-old child drag queen, and then gave accolades to the drag queen that was 11 years old. That is ridiculous.
Look, I got to say, I wish what you were saying was not accurate. James Tallarico is the Democrat nominee for Senate in Texas. This is the most woke, radical nominee Texas has ever seen. Now, the media wants you to think he's this regular guy, this moderate pastor kind of guy. Yeah. He is, if a woke soy latte came to life, that would be James Tallarico.
You got to vegan it. Don't forget, because he only gets vegan food and he wants to get rid of all the cows.
Meat scares him. He thinks meat is going to destroy the world. So he actually ran a meat-free campaign. He said no one in the campaign can have meat because meat is scary. Mind you, this guy is not running in Rhode Island. He's not running in Berkeley. He's running in the great state of Texas. But even so, this particular story that broke is stunning. I'm going to read you the headline in the beginning of the story from the Washington Free Beacon. Headline: James Tallarico headlined Pride event alongside 11-year-old child drag queen.
Yeah.
Queen Kiki, who he said, quote, absolute cutest and youngest of our drag performers. James Tallarico, a Presbyterian seminarian running for U.S. Senate from Texas, headlined an LGBTQ festival that featured, quote, the absolute cutest and youngest of our drag performers, an 11-year-old boy drag queen who goes by the stage name Queen Kiki. Taylor Pride, a group in the town of Taylor, Texas, held the June 26, 2021 event to raise money to help rural LGBTQ communities. The Pride Month festivities included a series of pro-LGBTQ speakers, live music, a drag story hour, and adult drag performers such as Brianna Brinks and the provocatively named Sedania Face. Tallarico and Queen Kiki, a local preteen named Keegan, were the biggest attractions for the Taylor Pride organizers. Quote, Taylor Pride will be hosting numerous speakers such as State Representatives James Tallarico, talented musical guests such as Venus Loves Mars, and the absolute cutest and youngest of our drag performers, Queen Kiki, the group wrote in promotional materials.
Unbelievable.
Quote, not only will this amazing preteen be performing a number at Texas Beer Company, but they will also host Kiki Storytime, where children will find lots of Pride-inspired craft activities. Taylor Pride wrote of Queen Kiki in a post publicizing the event. What the hell? Like, who says, you know what 11-year-old boys need? 11-year-old boys need to see 11-year-old boy drag queens. They need to be invited to explore their sexuality, because that's, Lord knows that's what children need, is more sexuality. And these 11-year-old, we're going to convince little boys, you're actually a girl. And by the way, little girls, you're actually a boy. This is sick. This is twisted. And this is who James Tallarico is.
And
that's what he believes.
He's celebrating it, advocating it, supporting it, and hoping that more parents will dress their kids in drag to come perform in front of him in the future. That's what his statement it says. Like, let's not
and by the way,
overlook
this
that.
is the parents. This is the parents. Yes. Look, there was a quote from Cynthia Nixon, the left-wing actress on Sex and the City, where she was quoted saying, my child's transgender, my sister's child is transgender, all my friends' children are transgender. You know what? That's not about the kids. That is about the parents who have left-wing political ideologies and are dressing their kids up like puppets to play out their politics. They are virtue signaling. This is cruel and is wrong. And you want to know who James Tallarico is? That's who he is.
That's who he is. Finally, I want to get to this other story, and it deals with AGs conspiring to go after Donald Trump's months ahead of his reelect. Let's tell people what we found out.
Well, another story that broke, it's headlined, Democrat AGs plan to sue Trump nearly 7 months before he was reelected.
There it is.
Nearly 24 state attorneys general banded together as early as April 2024 to plot litigation against President Donald Trump long before he was reelected, according to a confidential document obtained by the Center Square. The document was signed approximately 3 months before President Joe Biden exited from the race and Vice President Kamala Harris became the Democratic nominee for president. It was signed nearly 7 months before Trump was reelected by 2.3 million more votes than Harris, almost 9 months before he was inaugurated. State attorneys general have sued the Trump administration nearly 100 times since January 2025. The coordinated effort appears to have a nickname, quote, the Project for Federal Accountability. Not all of the lawsuits have been joined by each attorney general, and some offices take a lead on different cases. At the last count, California Attorney General Rob Bonta has participated in 82 lawsuits. Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser has joined at least 75 lawsuits. Washington State Attorney General Brown has joined 70 lawsuits. Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays has joined 46 lawsuits. At a news conference on Tuesday, Monta stated the lawsuits are apolitical. Yeah, right. He announced the lawsuits have cost California taxpayers $19 million, and he will continue to file them as needed. If Trump doesn't want to get sued, all he has to do is follow the law, Bonta said. I don't think our cases are likely to be dismissed. Trump shows no sign of slowing down, so we will continue to sue him. This is an example where the deep state and the Democrat machine, they like to talk about we support democracy. They beat their chest. We're for democracy.
Yeah, yeah.
Today's Democrats hate democracy. And I don't mean to be provocative in that statement, but if they actually respected democracy, they would say, you know what? The voters get to choose who the president's going to be. We're going to have an election November 2024, and they're going to choose either Donald Trump or initially it was Joe Biden. But then when they realized Joe Biden was deep into dementia, was no longer capable of winning, they threw Joe Biden overboard. They tossed him into a shark pit and immediately inserted Kamala Harris, who nobody had voted for.
Yep.
And when Trump won, they do not care. They're using lawfare to destroy him, and understand these Democrat AGs joined together to do so 7 months before he was elected president because they don't care what the voters say. They want power, and they're willing to abuse the system to get it.
As always, thank you for listening to Verdict with Senator Ted Cruz, Ben Ferguson with you. Don't forget to download my podcast, and you can listen to my podcast every other day you're not listening to Verdict, or each day when you listen to Verdict afterwards. I'd love to have you as a listener to, again, the Ben Ferguson podcast, and we will see you back here on Monday morning.